So we're in this scene where our protagonist, he's been given a job to kill the sister, to kill one of the captains of the Yakuza, and now he's meeting that person now. So we started yesterday by doing a little bit of a fun thing. We started writing it like a screenplay, and now obviously we've got to change that into a novel format, into prose. And it's very easy to do that. You just switch from future tense to past tense in general. And so that's pretty much all we have to do. But let's read it through, and then we'll start making some edits, and then we'll go on and write the next page of this novel. So right, so Sharp meets Mizuki. This is the scene. Dojo, lunchtime. Sharp sees two people fighting with training katanas. They're going at it full pelt. Their wooden swords clash loudly and often. The two fighters flip and hurl themselves through the air and all over the mats. Sharp notices one of the fighters appears to be holding one hand behind their back, as if to give a handicap to their opponent. Not that it seems to be helping. The single-handed fighter is Mizuki Matsumoto. That's she's the 18th, she's the 7th captain of the Yakuza, the person he's trying to kill. Or has been hired to kill anyway. When Sharp approaches the mat, the sparring partner turns his head to see who it is, and that's when Mizuki strikes him down mercilessly. The poor bastard slaps the mats, unconscious. Fool, said the victor, sliding her sword into her hip sheath. Never take your eyes off your opponent. We might need a better line than that. And then Sharp makes some witty comment. Again, first draft, we're not really bothered about filling these in too precisely. We'll come back to these. Okay, so Mizuki's eyes fixed on me. She stepped over her fallen opponent and came to greet me. I'd seen twins before, but none so identical as these. Mizuki Matsumoto was a carbon copy of her sister Kyori. The same porcelain white skin, the same long black lashes. Only Kyori's lips had been red like crushed cherries, while Mizuki's were black like oil. Mizuki kept her left hand folded behind her back while she extended her right hand towards me. Sharp-san, she said, an honor to meet you. Kyori Matsumoto had spoken to me in Japanese. Apparently this sister didn't think I was as well endowed in the tongue department. I took her hand and shook it. Miss Matsumoto. Captain Matsumoto, she said, immediately tightening her grip on my hand until my little finger crunched under the pressure, and I winced at the pain. Apologies, she said quickly. Swordsman's grip. I took back my hand. I couldn't believe how strong she was. More importantly, I couldn't believe I'd let this sister get the better of me too. Mizuki Matsumoto beckoned me to follow her across the dojo. Her bare feet sucked at the mats as we walked across. Her toenails were painted black. And, okay, so we didn't actually do this yesterday, but let's fill in. So remember, on every page we want a compelling last line, and I think this line actually just screams out to me now. If we bring back, remember, our guy has an ex-wife that he's kept alluding to, this mysterious ex-wife. We don't know what happened to her. We don't know what she's all about, but we do know that there is a very, very strained relationship there, and there's definitely some tension there. So let's just add this in. Sabrina had, always painted her nails black. Her black too, and look how that turned out. It's something like that. And, he could take this as a sign, as an omen, right? And it's that idea that we're leaving in the reader's mind that, something is about to happen and it's not going to be a good thing. So let me just bring up the music here as well. It seems like it's a bit low. There we go. Okay. Yeah, and look how that had ended. Something like that. Right, it's just that thing, just to get the reader to turn the page. But guys, feel free to suggest better lines. This is all about collaboration. So, right, so we carry on. Now, the walls were lined with various training swords, katanas, display cases, and photos. Trophies stood everywhere. So we can immediately, I already know what my editor's going to say here, and I've said this to you guys a number of times, that those to be verbs, need to be eliminated as much as possible. They just don't read as well as when you use a more active verb. So instead of the walls were lined, let's just say our protagonist looked, right? So I looked over, let's delete this, the various training swords, katanas, and display cases. I think it's better if you do things in threes, it just reads better. So training swords, katanas, and display cases. Okay, which lined the walls of the dojo. Okay, trophies stood everywhere. And again, we were talking about this yesterday, the importance of these trophies and really building up this this dojo and its reputation, because it's going to be very important to our story potentially. We'll talk about that in a second. So, the Takahashi School is renowned for its excellence, said Mizuki. Students are required to undergo rigorous daily training, or a rigorous daily training regimen. All right. We have a 92% dropout rate. But those that survive become champions. Do you practice the martial arts, Mr. Sharp? I fought my ex-wife for 10 years, I said. And then we need, yes, family provides life's hardest. Okay, so this is what we were saying yesterday. We need a good segue here between, we've already introduced this character of Mizuki Matsumoto. She's, you know, merciless. She's a fighter. We already saw her kicking ass on the mats. So we kind of get a sense of who she is. We also have everything that her sister has told our protagonist in chapter 1. So here we basically just want to get her side of the story. But if you're writing a conversation, there has to be, you know, she can't just blurt out, you know, oh, let me give you my side of the story. It doesn't make sense. So we're going to try and segue that. And yesterday we came up with this this nice little segue. So do you practice the martial arts, Mr. Sharp? I fought my ex-wife for 10 years, he says in jest. And now this is a perfect segue. Yes, family provides life's hardest opponents. It's some line like that. And then she can quite comfortably start talking about her sister, because that leads on quite naturally from that point. So, you know, my sister was always jealous of my father's love for me, and when Kurya ascended to captain, she took great pleasure in punishing me for it. Have you heard of Yubitsume? I shook my head. Yubitsume is a ritual of repentance. This is all the research that we did. A way to atone for transgressions against another and humble oneself before the greater whole. She motioned me towards a glass display case containing a model hand, holding a very sharp, ornate knife. I couldn't help but notice the crusted brown blood on the blade. Some say this ritual originated with degenerate gamblers who could not pay their debts, but in fact, it dates back much further, to the samurai, legendary swordsman. Let's just make that a little bit strong. It doesn't read quite right. That's missing, like, to the ancient samurai and legendary swordsman. That's a little bit better. You see, Mr. Sharp, in sword play, it is the little finger which grips the tightest on the hilt. To amputate this finger, then, is to weaken one's grip, and a weak grip betrays a weak warrior. She paused long enough for me to realize that I was massaging my hand from our handshake. Thus the warrior becomes more dependent on the protection of his master and pledges greater allegiance to his clan. Yeah, it's got to be to his clan. So this was a bit, again, just to catch everyone up. This idea, you want to be very subtle with what you're saying sometimes. And here, this, you know, she paused long enough for me to realize that I was massaging my hand from our handshake, just reinforcing that point that our guy really, you know, he's on the back foot immediately, right? So we're just embedding that within the dialogue, and now we need to finish this little part off. So okay, so obviously he doesn't like that. I don't know why that's still there. Okay, and then we said, yeah, so let me read this bit and then we'll make this better, because I kind of know where this needs to go, I think. 14 offences did Kyori accuse me of the day after her ascension, said Mizuki. For each offence, another knuckle was cut. Okay, so, you know, Kyori Matsumoto, the sister, the older sister, ascended to captain of the Yakuza, and then she took out all of her jealousy, all of her, you know, hatred for her younger sister, who was the favorite sister. She took it out on her by making her do this ritual of Yubitsume, which is where they cut off, in Japan, they cut off the little finger, the tip of the little finger, And then for each offence further, they have to chop off another knuckle. And basically, Curie made 14 accusations, and her sister had to chop off all of the fingers of her hand. She brought out her left hand from behind her back. I gaped at her stump. You mean? And Mizuki nods. The hand in the display case, this model hand that we had before, what he thought was a model hand, is in fact a real hand. It's her hand. It's the sister's hand. It's holding. She's self-taxidermied it, and she's keeping it as a reminder of she's keeping it as fuel for the fire that's raging inside her. That's why she wants revenge, and this is all going into the backstory and how we've got to this point of the novel. So we can just make this a little bit stronger because this doesn't read very well. So let's say I kept staring at the hand. So keep in mind, this sister, she's sort of just started to talk about this whole practice of yubitsume, and our guy Sharp, he's like, why, how would any of us feel if someone just started talking about this random ritual? We'd be like, why the hell are you telling me this? Like, what's she going on about? So Sharp he keeps staring at the hand in the glass box. Until, and then he suddenly clocks, oh crap, I understand what she's saying. Until I suddenly understood what she was driving at. You don't mean. Right, so you can imagine that scene, right? Suddenly it just dawns on him what he's actually looking at. That's not a model prosthetic. That's a real hand. Let's use this bit. Mizuki Matsumoto brought out her left hand from behind her back. Let's just use that here. So you see, just chopping and changing around. This is, fairly simple stuff, but I think the flow here is going to be a lot better. Obviously he's going to be gaping. It's just a bit, we don't need that. Brought out her left hand from behind her back, or rather, what was left of it. What was left of it. There's probably some kind of word play you can do, brought out her left hand and what was left of it. But, whatever, that can be something that we go back to. 14, and now she's explaining it, right? So he clocks, just imagine the scene. He's staring at the glass box, he's staring at the hand and the knife. She's telling him this story about chopping off fingers, and then it suddenly dawns on him, you're not serious. And she's like, yes, that is my hand. That's what my sister made me do, forced me to do. 14 offenses did Curie accuse me of the day after her ascension, said Mizuki. For each offense, another knuckle was cut. And then just to emphasize this point, because you really want to, this is like in a movie, this is the close-up, right? We go close-up on everything, big cuts and really emphasizing this. So I turn back to the hand. Yeah. Okay, let's just copy and paste that. I don't need to write it again. To the hand in the display case, her hand. So I started to feel very uneasy. This is probably best done in dialogue, I think. Something like, I hope I haven't made you lose your appetite. Because remember, we want to drive towards this moment later on where she serves him rabbit. Okay, based on everything we had in chapter 1, we want this wonderful moment. The climax of this scene is all going to revolve around her sort of, serving him rabbit, and the subtext there being, you're dead meat, right? So, LOL, yeah. So Kitty Whisper, you remember we came up with this scene. So I've just skipped ahead and we are going, and I'm just writing it now because I couldn't wait. But it is something that we're going to talk about today, is that, if you've got two scenes that you really, if you've got a couple of scenes that you really love and are going to be in your novel, but you don't necessarily know the rest of the novel, write those two good scenes, and then you can always go back and fill in some stuff. So that's kind of the approach that we're taking. So I hope I haven't made you lose your appetite, Mr. Sharp. Come. Let's have some lunch. Something like that. And now they're going from the dojo into the yeah, I'm glad you're here too. So we can sort of we can work this out together. Okay, so come, let's have some lunch. Okay, so I don't know whether we want to put this line here. So this line could go something like yeah, what time is it where you are? It's got to be like 2-3 a.m. I think that's when most people are tuning in, like 2 or 3 a.m. their time. For me, I'm in London, so it's 8 a.m. or just past. You know, start the day with the writing. So this next line could go 3:23 a.m. Wow, guys, I appreciate the late viewers or the early viewers. Great to have you here. So maybe you can use some of that sleep. That's just, you know, as you're going into that dreamful state. Maybe some connections will come, and you can you know, help me out. We'll use that creativity. So this scene could go something like, I hope I haven't made you lose your appetite, Mr. Sharp. Come, and our guy Sharp is obviously, you know, remember, he has a problem with women. He doesn't like to be on the back foot. He's going to be like, what are you talking about? You know, you haven't made me lose anything. So what? It's your hand. Okay, that's a bit gory, but I'm fine. And she's like, really? Okay, let's go and eat. What are we having? Rabbit. And he's like, oh crap. He's like, oh crap. I can't, you know, no matter what he says, these two sisters are all over him. Like, he has been totally outplayed, outmaneuvered by both of these sisters, which is really, I think that's really funny. I think it's really good. So anyway, we'll go with that. Okay, so that's that bit. Now, this, the scene at the moment is quite, it's very compact. We need to sort of spread it out. And then there's also the whole backstory. Yeah, exactly. Checkmate. So we need to include the backstory here. So this is something that we've been working on over the past few days, and we really have it quite solidly, this backstory. So we had originally that there were two sisters. I'm just going to talk it through again, and then, you know, it always helps to do that so it's clear in the mind. We had these two sisters, twin sisters, Kyori Matsumoto, the elder sister, and Mizuki Matsumoto, the younger sister. And their father was head, you know, a captain of the Yakuza. And he was always more fond of the younger sister. He favored the younger sister, Mizuki. And despite Kyori being the good daughter, the one who did everything, the one who was being groomed to be the next captain of the Yakuza and take over from her father, despite all that, the father loved the younger, more mischievous child. And he was going to bequeath her with the captaincy. You know, she was going to give all the power to her, give her the keys to the kingdom. And obviously, Kyori Matsumoto said no way. So she kills her father, takes over as captain, you know, claims her birthright. I'm the firstborn, I take it by force. And then the very next day, after ascending to captain, the older sister Kyori takes out all of her jealousy on her younger sister and makes her do this horrible, you know, Yubitsume ritual of chopping off all the fingers of her hand. Okay, obviously then the younger sister flees. You know, she needs to get out of there because otherwise her sister is going to keep torturing her. So where does she go? And this is what we have so far. So I threw myself at the feet of our clan's fiercest rival. She gestured at a large painting on the wall. Remember, they're in the dojo, right? Large painting on the wall. The subject was clad in a lustrous silk kimono, kneeling on a cushion. His steel grey hair was pulled tight into a bun. His face could have broken glass. That's not the best line, but okay, we get the idea. My revered master, Kenji Takahashi. Okay, so this guy is, he was, you know, their father's closest rival, but also, there was a mutual respect there between them. So she runs to this rival and says, "Look what my sister's done to me. She's made me cut off my hand. I want revenge." And I want sharpen a team up, pretend. Yeah. Exactly. I think there's going to be a reversal here. As we get her side of the story, it seems like she's the one who's been wronged. So I think, right? So the younger sister Mizuki, she went and she teamed up. She said to this, her father's rival. She said, "Look at what my sister's done to me. You've got to take me in. I want revenge. I need your help." And he says, as leader of this school of martial arts, he says, "I will take you in, and I will train you, but we need, your whole problem, the whole problem with your life and what your father had a problem with you, why your sister has a problem with you, is because you have no discipline, right? You've got a lot of potential, but you don't have any discipline." So he's going to teach. So he teaches her all of that. And as we've seen at the beginning of this scene, even with just one hand, she is able to, do battle with another member of the school and beat him, right? So, so this is the story arc. So these past few years, she's been training under the tutelage of this great hard knock school of martial arts. A rigorous training, 92% dropout rate because of just how difficult it is. And she's there with just one hand, but a burning desire for revenge. So, that's the backstory of this Mizuki character. She's been training, and then eventually this her mentor has died, and she is now she takes over as head of his ward of Tokyo. She becomes the new captain of the Yakuza of his district, and now she's at the same level as her sister. They're both captains, and obviously Mizuki, she's now ready to go to war. So we can imagine that deathbed scene of her and her mentor is finally going, "I give you the keys to the kingdom. Go and take your revenge." And we have that scene. So that has to be a scene that we go back to as a flashback or something like that. That could even be a prologue. But yeah, we get that moment. Take your revenge now, and they're going to war. And these two sisters are going to war. The problem with it is that this is organized crime, right? This is the Yakuza. This is the Japanese mafia. And the Japanese mafia does not like its captains to go to war. It's bad for business. So we came up with the idea that maybe what happens is there are 23 captains of the Yakuza because there are 23 wards in Tokyo. I don't know if that's actually how the Yakuza operate, but in this story, that's how I'm going to set it up. So there are 23 captains. Obviously, disputes are going to happen, but the superiors, the overlords of the Yakuza are like, no. We do not fight each other because we lose business. That's not how we do. That's not how we operate. So what they do is once a year, they make a special tournament, a special, sort of gladiatorial combat arena, and they allow the captains to pit their foot soldiers essentially against one another in order to settle their disputes, sort of in the ring. Okay, so once a year, all these captains come together, and we can probably put this at the port of Tokyo because we were thinking where might be a very good place to set this whole climax up. And if we imagine a big shipping yard, you've got all these multicolored, shipping containers everywhere, and maybe they make a big ring of them, and the amount of carnage, the amount of different fighting scenarios that you could have, it's very Fight Club. Right, imagine they lock two people in a shipping container, and with one knife, and they say, winner gets to come out. Something like that. And then like in the middle, we can have these big cranes looming. It's Japan, so they'll probably televise the whole thing to the underworld. It can be a whole big thing. And our guy Sharp, having just been caught by Mizuki, he's probably going to get thrown into the ring and be like, go ahead now try and fight your way out, try and redeem yourself. There's going to be that moment. So our guy Sharp. So the question is what kind of character is our protagonist? Because that's something we still don't quite have pinned down. We have these sisters. We've got a great story going with them, but I don't think we want our guy Sharp to be the Jack Reacher type of character. We don't want him to be the great fighter, the muscle bound guy, because that's it's been done and it's a bit easy. We want him to be a little bit more James Bondy. So he might know a little bit how to fight, but he's not quite the he's not the guy who goes into a bar and takes out 50 guys, right? He's the guy who thinks his way out of things. He makes the 50 guys fight each other while he sits back and maybe he takes on the runt of the group later on. That's the kind of character that we want. So we're gonna have that's gonna be a really interesting position to put him in, surrounded by 50 Yakuza guys, all of whom have betrayed their captains, and they have this one big brawl, the what do they call it in WrestleMania, that kind of a thing. And Sharp's in the middle, and he's going, "Oh crap, how am I going to survive this?" So we can imagine that moment later on. So that's what we're building to, I think, as a climax for this novel, and maybe we'll even start writing that scene once we finish this one, because again, we know that scene, and then we can just stitch it together. Tupper Hunter, welcome. Great to have you back. We're just talking about potentially where this plot is going to go for the climax, and I think that's dirt in the eye kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, obviously our guy Sharp, he's definitely going to he's going to have to resort to dirty tactics, and he's got that later scene in this gladiator type arena. It's going to be epic. Yeah, absolutely. I'm fully up for the Twitch Writers Network. Let's do something there. I don't know if I can do this Saturday though. It might have to be next Saturday. But yeah, that's a good. I checked it out. I had a look. Sounds like an interesting thing. I'm definitely up for some narrating on there. So let's see. Let's get back to this now. So Mizuki Matsumoto is saying all of this. Let's just tighten this up because it doesn't read quite right. So his face would have broken. My revered master, Kenji Takahashi. If we remember how Kyori Matsumoto introduced herself with that long description, I'm Yakuza Captain 18, head of the clan Matsumoto, and she who lays claim to the fourth ward Shinjuku of the great city Tokyo. This needs to have that same thing. So my revered master, Kenji Takahashi, founder of the Takahashi... What the hell am I writing? Takahashi... There it is. We'll find some better names for these guys a little bit later on. And he who laid claim to the 7th ward, let's say, Koto of the great city Tokyo. So this is how these captains like to introduce themselves. They do the long introductions, right? And who wouldn't if you had a title like that? Am I on the Discord? I followed them on Twitch. Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty new to Discord, actually. I signed up to it. I'm just sort of working my way around it, trying to figure that out. One thing I did want to do, guys, maybe you can help me with this, is find a place where I can actually put this document that I'm working on, this new novel, where I can put it up so people can, at least have a copy of it themselves as it gets, as we add to it every day. But also, if people want to, in their own time, sort of make comments on it, maybe I can make it a Google Docs, put it in Google Docs or something and open it to everyone. But I think something like that might be helpful. And in fact, we could maybe get some kind of a Google Drive where we all put up some work, and we can all in our spare time when we're not streaming or at work, we can put comments into one another's, edit everyone's work. Do something like that. Okay, so that reads a little bit better now. That's a little bit more epic, and it harkens back. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Let me do that. Cool. Yeah. Okay. Let me try and set up a Google Docs. Yeah, Tupper Hunter. I'll definitely get in touch through Discord. I'll put up maybe I guess the first chapter of this novel that we've written so far. And yeah, I'll send it through for sure. Okay, so this reads a little better. So I threw myself at the feet of our clan's fiercest rival. She gestured at a large painting on the wall. The subject was clad in a lustrous silk kimono, kneeling on a cushion. His steel grey hair was pulled tight into a bun. His face could have broken glass. My revered master Kenji Takahashi, founder of the Takahashi Fighting School, and he who laid claim to the 7th Ward, Koto, of the great city, Tokyo. Okay, that sounds like we're in character now. That's good. So, okay, we need... Why would your fiercest rival take you in? And the intensity of their rivalry, right, between the father and this guy was matched by their mutual respect. That's very Karate Kid type of a line. But whatever. Who's coming and when you want to join the following Saturday one, please tell them on Discord and they'll put your name up. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, no, I will. No, I understood what you meant. They have a Google Doc, right? I have to go and sign up my name on the Google Doc, right? And then they'll, you know, be able to put me on for the open mic, right? So I'll get in contact with them, and I'll upload it and do whatever I have to. So yeah, first I'll contact them on Discord. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, cool. No, appreciate it. All right, so we've got the idea of this scene now. So, okay, a couple of things we can do today. We either go one page further with this scene, or we stitch together the two scenes that we have already. I think probably let's try and go a bit further with this scene. So we have Mizuki Matsumoto, and she is just, you know, we've had this whole thing with the hand that she's chopped off, and she said, you know, I hope I haven't made you lose your appetite, Mr. Sharp. Come, let's have some lunch. Okay, and then we're into the next page, and this, you know, at the end of this little bit, she's got to serve him the rabbit, and we have that great moment where Sharp realizes, oh crap, I am in big trouble. So this scene is like really right before the climax of the novel, I think, because you know, once he realizes that he's caught, this sister is going to be like, you know, feed him to the dogs essentially, and that feeding him to the dogs is this big tournament that they have between all the Yakuza captains. This you know, once in a year thing where they can all settle their differences, and you know, battle it out in the ring. So let's start to set that up. Of the great city Tokyo. Okay, so a couple of things that we need to put. So let's actually write that whole thing, and then we'll start to build up the scene. So our superiors will not stand for war between the captains. You know, and again, we'll write this as bad dialogue, but we can always go back later and just refine it. First, let's get the general idea. However, once per year, we are granted the ability to, is it air our disputes like that? Air our disputes? Yeah, it's something like that, I think. To air our disputes. Was wondering if you could help me in my writing, if that's okay. Main character grabbed and pulled into earth below, and I'm trying to describe her blinking like in slow motion. Yeah, happy to help. Maybe just put on the stream, put that paragraph that you're currently got, and then I'll throw it up on the screen here, and we'll go through it. and we'll try and find the right words. And happy to do this for anyone, right? Anyone on the chat who's just sitting by has a question, has a point in their novel that they're trying to just refine, or plot points that everyone wants to sort of get better. Let's all do it together. Come on, it's not like I'm the Grand Master. Okay, here we go. So Tupper Hunter has put this up. Okay, so 1 second. But as we... Okay, a little bit of grammatical errors, immediately. But as we were gradually exiting, I could feel my legs sink into the ground as the clasp of the hand was strong. And this feeling of fear sank into my distressing heart. Okay, no, this can't happen to me too. Unconscious, Steve was dropped to the floor, and most of the weight was on Bradley. I felt I was going to never see him again. Every time I blinked was a feeling... Okay, so it's this last line that you're trying to get. And there's a couple of things I can tell you immediately. I know if I handed that into my editor, I know immediately what she would say. So okay, let's do this as an exercise because I think this will be quite instructive. I will get back to my work in a second. But come on, you guys have been helping me out so much, so let's share that around. Okay, let's put this over here. So I don't know the backstory, obviously, to what you're doing. I don't know the whole thing, but let's just throw this up 1 second. You're very new to writing, yeah. So that's great. It's great that you're willing to share your work so early. Don't be, you're not going to be self-conscious about it. Okay, so let's just immediately fix this. But as we were gradually exiting, where are they exiting? Just tell me that. I could feel my legs sink into the ground. Okay, as the clasp of the hand was strong, and this feeling of fear sank into my distressing heart. Okay, so just they're exiting a greenhouse. Okay, fine. Immediately, first thing here, delete that. You don't need that. Any kind of adverbs or just extra words are not going to help you unless you're in dialogue and the character is a very loquacious character, like the twins that I'm working with, these Japanese twins. They love to talk, and in that case you can add to the just add words and words and words and make things very, very complicated. But in your prose, generally it's a good idea to keep it clean. And also, again, so I've been talking about this a lot. Anytime you have a to be verb, so whether that's am, was, is, get rid of it, right? Try and find a different way of saying it. Use a more active verb. So there are a couple of to be verbs here, right? You're basically a to be verb puts you in the causative state rather than in the active state. It's a passive verb, and we want we always want our characters to be active. So as the clasp of the hand was strong, and this feeling of fear sank into my heart. So I don't really know what you're trying to say with this sentence. It's not quite strong. Also, you don't need that. No, this can't happen to me too. So let's just write this up like this, and then we'll unconscious. Steve was dropped, right? Don't say he was dropped. Steve. So what? So someone is what? He's. I'm trying to imagine what is this? What is happening in the scene? They're coming out of the greenhouse, and then what? So someone is like. Someone sinks into the ground. The other guy grabs his hand and is trying to hold it. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Words ending in... That's good. Words ending in ly should be used sparingly. No pun intended. Yeah, exactly right. Right. Any adverbs should be... basically, adverbs are... the road to hell is paved with adverbs, to quote Stephen King. So, unconscious Steve was dropped to the floor and most of the weight was on Bradley. So I would just put this either unconscious Steve dropped to the floor, right? And most, right? Another word that can slow you down is and. Okay, it's a very interesting word, and it's something that I've thought about quite a lot. as authors, we think about random things. Who thinks about the word and? But and can either be used to speed something up or very much slow something down. And in this case, I think it's slowing your work down. So unconscious, Steve dropped to the floor. Right, just you can get rid of that. You can just put it in a shorter sentence. Generally, if you use shorter sentences, the pacing is faster, right? It's like the camera. Imagine in a movie, the camera is shooting from one scene immediately to another. It's like cut, cut, cut. You see his face, then her face, then a close up of the the timer on the bomb ticking down, right? And we just instantly go back and forth between those. You're building the speed towards a climax, right? I don't know what the climax is, but unconscious, Steve dropped to the floor. Most of the weight was on. Okay, so you could either say here, again, trying to eliminate this this verb. You don't have to eliminate all of your to be verbs, but I'm saying if you wanted to, you could then say Bradley, shouldered most of the weight, or something like that. Okay, I felt I was never going to see him ever again. Yeah. No, we all have so much to learn. I'm just giving you my thoughts. Doesn't mean my thoughts are correct, but these are definitely things that I know my editor would say. So again, here you have this, as we were gradually exiting, so just put, but as we exited, right? It's just much more immediate, right? Well, I'm happy to help. Yeah. All of us learning, all of us trying to help each other. You guys have very much helped me already. Kitty Wistful, massive shout out as well. When we both had that moment of, we know what that future scene is. That was a really nice moment. So, but as we exited, I could feel my leg. I could feel, I felt, make it more immediate. But as we exited, I felt my leg sink into the ground. So what is this line? What's happening here? As the clasp of the hand was strong. Am I right? Did someone shoot the hand out and try to grab this person to stop them falling? Is that what it is? One of the best ways to start writing, more direct and clear dialogue is just to write it in the most simple and direct way, and then you can always sort of trim it down. So I felt my leg sink into the ground. Who is this guy? Bradley. So need a little bit of context. So basically, someone is taking her to the ground and pulling her in, making people disappear. Oh, I see. I felt my leg sink. So someone has sort of reached up from under the ground, grabbed this person's leg, and is pulling it down, right? No, I think there's actually someone underneath. If I'm understanding this right. Okay, so there is someone underneath. Yeah, Top Hunter. Who are you saying? Yes, that's it. Okay. So I think this is okay. So, but as we exited, I felt my legs sink into the ground. Okay, fine, cool. By the way, my name is Raphael. If you want to call me my name, but I do go by Axel Cruise on my novels. So you guys, you probably do know me better by Axel Cruise. But anyway, okay. So here you want to say, okay. But as we exited, I felt my legs sink into the ground. A hand. So here probably you can either say a hand pulled on my pulled my ankle. Okay, I'm just trying to state it right. Okay, so I'm just going to put it in long form and then we'll adjust it. So I looked down and saw the hand. So it's coming up from the ground. Coming out of the earth and coming out of the earth and grabbing my ankle. Gosh, what's going on here? Earth and grabbing my ankle, trying to pull me under, right? Okay. So, you know, I'm just sort of speaking it out so it's very clear. The grip was strong. This feeling of fear sank into my heart. No, I think this line isn't quite right. It's like, it's a very poetic line, but it doesn't necessarily need to be there, right? Let's just make this, you know, a little bit stronger. You can just do it in the dialogue. We know that. Oh, I mean, imagine, right? Imagine it's you, and you get and a hand comes out of the earth and grabs your ankle. Obviously, you're going to be afraid, right? You don't necessarily need to say it. You can just put it. You know, it's the show don't tell rule, right? We know that he's going to be afraid, or whoever this person is. We know that they're going to be afraid. So no. No, okay, I want to be careful with this, but this can't happen to me too. Have them just say it right outright. Okay, so who's Steve? Unconscious Steve dropped to the floor. Most of the weight was on Bradley. I felt I was never going to see him. Okay, but hopefully you get the idea of what I'm just doing. Is I'm just sort of tidying up what you're saying, what you've got, and you know, putting things into a more active, using more active verbs. So, but as we exited, I felt my legs sink into the ground. I looked down and saw the hand coming out of the earth and grabbing my ankle, trying to pull me under. The grip was, the grip was strong. Okay, the grip was strong. Okay, so maybe actually you can put that, if you really want that line, you know, no, I screamed at the power of its grip. Something like that. This can't happen to me too. And then you'll have to go on and write that bit. But yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Good idea from Kitty Wistful. You know, something less at the strength of its grip, or at the something less. Okay, so something less generic than flavor. Let's try. No, I screamed at the iron grip. No, I screamed at its. Okay, so you know, it could be something like that. This can't happen to me too. Unconscious, Steve dropped to the floor. Most of the weight was on Bradley. I felt I was never going to see him again. Okay, every time I blinked was a feeling of what? What kind of feeling was this? Was a feeling of what? Okay, if you have that, then we can just finish this off, and then I'll get back to writing what I'm writing. So, is Steve the guy who's just fought? Is Steve the guy who's about to be pulled under? Can't be, right? I'm trying to describe a slow motion effect as if this character is dying. Okay, so no, it's Lindsay. No, I screamed at its iron grip. This can't happen to me too. Okay. Unconscious Steve dropped to the floor. Most of the weight was on Bradley. What weight? Whose weight? Okay, yeah, no, I understand that. Okay, so Lindsay is the one being pulled down. So who's Steve's body of the weight? Unconscious Steve dropped to the floor. Steve dropped to the floor. So most of the weight was on, as in he fell on top of Bradley. If he fell on top of Bradley, just say he fell on top of Bradley. You know, he fell on top of Bradley, pinning him to the ground, so that now they're both on the ground. Okay. Something that every time I blinked was a feeling of Okay, I understand. I understand what you're trying to say here. Wish I could say, got your message by the way. Continue the great stream. Yeah, thanks for tuning in again. Conquest Publishing, really great to have you. Be in touch. We will be in touch. Okay, so they are carrying Steve out the greenhouse now that Lindsay's seen to. Okay, got it. Okay, understood. Right. Okay, no ice cream. This can't happen to me too. So it's something like you got to explain why this person, right? So they're both carrying this guy Steve out of the greenhouse. Suddenly, a hand comes up from the earth and grabs Lindsay's ankle. Lindsay's immediate reaction is going to go, "Oh crap!" She's going to let go of Steve, obviously, and then she's going to try and go down and get rid of this hand. No, I screamed, pawing at its iron grip. This can't happen to me too. Okay, so then, okay, again, just write it badly and then make it better. But having let go of Steve, he dropped to the floor. So it shouldn't be the floor, it should again be the ground. Floor just sounds like they're indoors. Okay, so like they're carrying Steve out, yeah. Haven't let go of Steve. No ice cream. Okay, so yeah. Letting go of Steve. There we go, this is how it should be. Letting go of Steve and pawing at its iron grip. This can't happen to me too. Bradley groaned. Right, you can imagine then Bradley, he's like, "Oh crap!" You just given. Bradley groaned. Bradley groaned. I can't hold him. I can't hold. What's her name? Lindsay. Okay. Okay, so then you can sort of do this. It's E, not A. Oh, Lindsay. Got it. Okay, but as we exited, I felt my legs sinking to the ground. I looked down and saw a hand coming out of the earth and grabbing my ankle, trying to pull me under. "No," I screamed, letting go of Steve and pawing at its iron grip. "This can't happen to me too." Bradley groaned. "I can't hold him, Lindsay." Okay. So this... Okay, what needs to happen here? Maybe you need to now go... You've got the right idea. You need to be in the head of the character, but you can just state questions like, instead of Bradley Gray, I can't hold him, Lindsay. What was, it's something like, what was happening. If I got pulled under, I'd never see him again. It's something like this. You just have to keep going like that. So everything is happening in slow motion. Okay, you want to say, it's that thing, right? You want to say that everything is happening in slow motion. So just say that, that might work. Okay, Brad, right. Everything everything's happening in slow motion. I looked at, Bradley, Steve. Okay, so then I guess there's got to be some sort of emotional bond, right, between them. And this is maybe a point where those feelings come to the surface. So I have no idea if this is the case, but it seems to me like Lindsay and Steve, right? Lindsay and Steve. Lindsay has feelings for Steve, so if she's been keeping those bottled, or if she's not aware of those, not letting herself feel those feelings. Oh no, more like Bradley. Okay, then probably you should have Bradley sinking into the ground here. You should have, yeah, right. You need to have something. Bradley's not really in danger, it seems. He's just holding up Steve. Steve's in danger. He's unconscious and he's fallen to the ground. So, or maybe have more hands coming up out of the ground. Now they're grabbing all of them. It's something like that. Just heighten this moment, push it to the max. And then Lindsay is like, he's looking at Steve. She's looking at Bradley, and she's thinking, oh no, she's now feeling all those feelings, and and we get more of the emotion of the scene, right? The fear will come through not by saying I was afraid, but just by her saying, Bradley was getting pulled under too. Everything was happening. I looked at Bradley. There was a hand pulling at his ankles too, right? Pulling at his ankles too. Something like that. Yeah. Yeah, no problem. We're all here to help. Hopefully that does this. I mean, look, if this helps, that's kind of what I would do. I'll leave it to you to, push further with it. But I've given you the sort of what's the word? The fundamentals, right? Yeah. Okay. Good. Hopefully that helps. And send it in when you've redone it. When you've redone it, send it in and let's see how it goes. Okay. So there you go. Okay, let's get back to the story here. So we've got these two captains. Okay, our superiors will not stand for war between the captains. However, once per year, we are granted the ability to air our disputes in... Okay. Am I really going to put this as a line? I am going to put it as a line. In Mortal Kombat. Obviously, that's not a line that's going to stick, but I'm just getting the idea. Okay, our superiors will not stand for war between the captains. However, once per year, we're granted the ability to air our disputes in Mortal Kombat. We call this event. Okay, guys. Here comes. What are we going to call these things? We call these the pit fights, something like that. Okay, we call this event the pit fight, something like whatever. We need a name for this big event. And right, each Yakuza captain will put forward fighters and the victors, and to the victors shall go. Yeah, again, we want to keep in line with the character. These two twins are very they are very eloquent in how they speak. Each Yakuza captain will put forward fighters, and to the victors shall go the judgment, I guess. Right, the judgment of the dispute. Okay. Every time I touch food, right, they're so talented. Messed up before. I feel like I'm doing it again, but I'm glad I'm still learning. No, not at all. I mean, look, every time I hand in a piece of work to my editor, she bashes it down. Like, she's like, really? You thought this was good? You thought this was good? How long have we been working together? You thought this was good? It's always like that. It's always like that. Sometimes, you get it right, but sometimes, most of the time, we all get it wrong because we're too close to the work. What we can see in our head, the movie that we see in our head of what's going on, it's too close to us. We need objective feedback, and that's what makes it better. But everyone goes through that. You know, you're not really supposed to show your first draft to anyone. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the best piece of advice you can give to any writer, you tell them, once you finish your first draft, once you've finished your novel, put it inside a desk, and 3 months later go and read it, and you'll see you'll see exactly what you've written, you know, with fresh eyes. But people don't do that. People just will not listen to that piece of advice. Yeah. So yeah, you need fresh eyes, but you can't have fresh eyes when you're constantly every day continuing to write. So yeah, I mean, look, we're all in the same boat. We're all in the same boat, trying to get better. So yeah, you're not supposed to show your first draft, which the point of this right before your eyes, before the point of this channel was that I'm going to show you my first draft. I mean, you're seeing it now. And yeah, go back, you know, check out, you know, those first videos of day 1, day 2, when we were writing the first pages. And, you know, I think that's quite instructive for anyone who's just starting out to see where it can all begin, and then how the story has developed to this point where we actually have quite a decent backstory, at least. Kitty Wistful, yeah. Yeah, please share your own work, guys. Share it all, and we'll throw up some stuff on screen, and we'll try and help each other. So we've got this idea. Our superiors will not, and this is going to be the climax, right? We know that this is the setting for the climax. This big fight between the Yakuza bosses, setting of the climax. So we want to save that, and we can put down any notes that we want for it right here. But this is it. Our superiors will not stand for war between the captains. However, once per year, we're granted the ability to air our disputes in mortal combat. We call this event the Pit Fights. We need a better name. Each Yakuza captain will put forward fighters, and to the victors shall go the judgment, or the judgments. Okay, fine. So that's the basic idea of this whole novel. Okay, so let's say she leads me, right, so we need to put them into the dining room now. So again, for everyone who's just joining, they're in this dojo. We have the 7th captain of the Yakuza welcoming in our protagonist, Mr. Sharp, into her dojo, and we see her, you know, fighting with some of her underlings and basically slaughtering them. She's a powerful fighter, this one. And now she is going to turn her attention onto our protagonist. I hope I haven't made you lose your appetite, Mr. Sharp. Come, let's have some lunch. So obviously the next line is obvious, right? She showed me into the dining room, or into the lunchroom, whatever. What's going on here? She showed me into the dining room, right? We describe the dining room. So describe the dining room. The two things that we can do here. Again, I like to put things in brackets if I just can't be bothered to write them. You know, description of a dining room is not the most entertaining of prose. It's not something I want to spend. Yeah, maybe like a bullfighting kind of a name. Yeah, I think basically what I have to do for the name of this event is probably find a parable, a Japanese parable, and then from there, nick a name basically. Maybe again we can add that to the history of this whole thing. We can say, like, maybe the father, maybe that father who died long ago, 10 years ago, maybe he gave his name to this pit fight, or something like that. There can be a whole backstory just for that, but it's not something that I need to focus on now. How did I end up with my publisher? No, I'm all of my stuff is self-published, and I mean it's had some success. It's had some success, but I do have editors and things that are helping me along the way. and I can recommend some to you if you need. Yeah, you know. Oh, editors, yeah, no, editors you find yourself. You should always find them yourself, and you. Yeah, I searched online, and my editor, great editor called Karen Cather, and she lives in Las Vegas, and she's a black belt in like 5 disciplines. So, you know, if I write a fight scene, for instance, she's going to be like, this would never happen. Like, come on, this would never happen. And then she writes something that is so bloody scary that, you know, I'm afraid to stand up to her and say, well, actually, I don't like that. You can't say that to Karen. She will karate chop you into the next room. So she showed me into the dining room. Describe the dining room. Okay, so yeah, so I was going to say, this dojo, again, we're dealing with the Yakuza. So they're business people. Let's imagine that, you know, this Mizuki Matsumoto has beckoned, she's called our protagonist Sharp to her place of business. So maybe it's a skyscraper, you know, we're in Tokyo, it's a big skyscraper, and instead of a gym, like you would have, you know, in the UK or in America, you know, we have offices with their own gyms, and the gyms are, you know, they've got the weights, the free weights and everything. In this skyscraper, maybe, you know, in the basement or even on one of the top floors, they've kitted it out like a dojo. Yeah, they've kitted it out like a dojo, and then, you know, it could be something like that. Or this is, why can't there be an adorable girl going across the dojo and say something funny? Because that's, I mean, what's the point? I don't get it. I mean, it's, maybe in the lunchroom or something. So one thing that I do want to get across to everyone is, again, try and keep, if you only need 4 characters to tell your story, stick to 4 characters. Don't bring in anyone else. You know, that's it. That's all I'll say. She showed me into the dining room. Describe the dining room. Okay. So that's the question. Is this a lunchroom of a skyscraper where there are many people eating? Is this actually the school? You know, this Takahashi school of combat? It feels like maybe it's probably got to be that. This where she's trained all her life, and has now taken the reins from this from the former captain of the former 7th captain of the Yakuza. Show me into the dining room. Let's write it as that. There were about 50 students, or a restraint owned by the dojo. Yeah. See, Castle basically there was someone. Wow. Yeah, exactly. 15 characters in a story is a lot, unless you're writing something like Game of Thrones. But you know, I don't have the patience for that. I love Game of Thrones, but am I going to write 15 different characters? I don't think so. Back room of the restaurant for Akuma only dinner. Yakuza for the Yakuza only diner. Yeah, so I don't want to. I don't want to make it. I don't want to make it a. What do you call it? I don't want to make it another restaurant simply because Kyori Matsumoto, the first scene was in a restaurant. She was in the Green Bird restaurant. So this feels like it needs to be just something slightly different. So it can be a lunchroom, you know, and we have all these students, you know, sort of kneeling down, and they are. So again, she's a captain of the Yakuza. So she walks into this, you know, there are about 15 students eating. At our entrance, they all stood up and bowed. Right, they bow towards this captain of the Yakuza, right? So again, it's like these little things that just tell us who the characters are, their status, and all of that. So she showed me into the dining room. We'll describe it. There are about 50 students eating. At our entrance, they all stood up and bowed. You know, and then Sharp's like, you know, that can't be good for their digestion. Again, our guy, he's got quips and he's got jokes, but I probably will delete all of these jokes later. But, you know, if you're like me and you can't help but just add in humorous lines here and there, then I encourage you to write them in to get it out of your system, and then you can always go back and delete them. Yeah, so I think what's good, this is what I'm thinking here. There are about 50 students eating. At our entrance, they all stood up and bowed, you know, towards Mizuki. Maybe she dismisses them all. She's like, all right, everybody out. You know, I'm eating now. Or like you say, Kitty Wistful, maybe we just have them walk through this place and into her private dining room. You know, she doesn't eat. She's a Yakuza captain. That's maybe better. You're quite right. So maybe she doesn't eat with the lower, you know, the lower level. Yeah, exactly. They bow to her in the halls, or she just passes through them. Tam, thank you so much for following. Great to have you here. So yeah, maybe she is. Yeah, I think you're right. She's walking through the halls. She doesn't eat with the lower down, you know, with the lower class people. They're all afraid of her, so she goes and eats in her own quarters with Sharp. Okay, can't be good for thy digestion, I said, or maybe he just thinks that. Whatever. Okay, eventually they also bowed towards Mizuki. Okay, let's just quickly get them into another place. We can always make this. We continued through the hall into a private dining room. Okay. And then he's obviously going to harken back to, you know, his meal with the older sister, right? Got into a private dining room. Into a private dining room. Okay, 1 second. Let's put that there. Could put that there. Into a private dining room. Mizuki sat down on. Now I wonder if they're sort of, you know, if this is one of those low Japanese tables and they both sit on the cushions. That feels like it's more of a dojo kind of a thing. And again, just trying to get the difference between this setting of a dining room and where Kyori Matsumoto was. You know, she was in a formal restaurant. So it can't be good for the relation. Mizuki, you know, almost smiled at that. But, or maybe she plays on the respect angle. Okay, but, okay, whatever. We continue through the hall, through the halls into a private dining room. Mizuki sat down on a low cushion. I took the one opposite. Okay, I took the one opposite. Okay, so there's like a low table and two cushions. Low table, two cushions. Just describing it. We can always I'll come back and just make this into sentences. But getting the getting the plot down. Okay. So the waiter. Okay, so excellent, said Mizuki. And watching my reaction as the waiter put our plates in front of us, she smiled at me and said, "I hope you like rabbit." That's that can be the last line. We know it has to be that line. So question. So in the middle of this, while they're eating, we want to put this dialogue. Okay. And this is actually the end of the scene. So, okay. It's clear. Alright, end of the scene there. So we just really have to write this page today, and then we've done today's job. Remember, 1 page a day. That's all we're trying to do. How long have we been going for? About an hour and a half? Okay, not bad. Not bad. Okay, so she showed me into the students' dining room. There are about 50 guys eating, right? Maybe he asked her a menu and she says he won't need one because she's prepared a special meal. I like that. I like that. Okay, but remember, this isn't actually a restaurant. This is a dojo. So they have a very strict diet at the dojo. Yeah, but I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, Kitty Wistful. Okay. So maybe she's like, it's my favorite. Mm-hmm. My favorite, said Mizuki. And maybe she just says rabbit. Okay, something like that. And then the subtext there we know is, you're dead meat. You're cooked. Okay. Okay, one thing that we do have to do, that's very good. That's a good point. So keep in mind, this is a much later scene. Yeah, this is a much later scene than chapter 1, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be, but even if it's only the next chapter, we need to remember the story of the rabbit and the tanuki. Okay, the tanuki, the rabbit, and the farmer. So we can do that. We can remind the reader of that. We need to remind the reader so that this line has impact. Okay, because otherwise they're going to go, wait, rabbit? What? What's going on here? Why is that a line? What does that mean? As they sit down at a low cushion, I took the one opposite. Our guy's got to remember, we can just have him remember. And again, Tupper Hunter, if you're watching, this is just me putting down exactly what's happening, and then we can always tidy up the lines later, because obviously this reads right now just like a, nonsense. Just it doesn't even read. Low table, 2 cushions. Zuki sat down on a low cushion. I took the one opposite. I remembered my meal with Kyori. Those who can have their own garden, the meal came from. Like hunting the rabbit. We eat what we hunt. We eat what we kill. Maybe he asks, so what's on the menu? Around here we eat what we kill. Something like that. Let's put that. It can't be good for their digestion, I said. Okay, so we can do something like. Let's put that in and see if maybe it will stick. What's on the menu? We eat what we kill. Or maybe they, again, this school is such a what's the word? It has such a high bar for its students that it's like, if you don't get through the training of the day, you don't eat, right? If you don't win your match in the morning, your katana match, then you don't get lunch, right? You only get to eat if you win. There is actually, I'm remembering a story of a pack of wolves that this happens to, maybe we can use that. Okay, you eat what you kill, or you eat only if you win, right? It's got to be something like that. That's the whole idea. Okay. You only eat if you win. You only eat if you win. And since she just won her match, against this poor bastard, that we saw at the beginning, who got, slashed and he was distracted by Sharp, and then Mizuki mercilessly, chops him down. That guy obviously is not going to eat. So maybe we see him sort of sulking in the corner, of the main restaurant. Maybe Sharp is like, it'll be all right, fella. Just get some food in you. and then Mizuki's like, no, he doesn't get to eat. He lost. You know, he's got to make it through the day to tomorrow when he's going to be even hungrier, and then maybe he won't make such stupid mistakes as taking his eye off the opponent. It's something like that, right? So okay, we continue in private dining room. A low table, 2 cushions. Okay, so oh, that's perfect. We can put that here, right? There are about 50 students sitting down, but only half of them were eating. Okay, were eating, right? Because the other half lost, right? Their morning matches. So the losers, they have to not only starve, they have to not only go without food, they have to sit there and watch the victors eating the spoils, eating their meal. So it really builds this sort of ferocity, this rivalry between all the members, you know? Maybe even a controlled gardener. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. This is just I like to sort of I'm making this up as I go along. That should be clear. I mean, that is definitely clear if you go back and watch the previous videos. But it is always good to. What I like to do is once the first chapter is written, then everything in that chapter stays as written, right? Nothing can change. We take everything in there as gospel. Everything has to remain. You know, if we've said that Sharp is going to be hired to take out another member of the Yakuza, that is the plot. It has to be the plot, okay? And the reason why, and I've said this a couple of times, is that if you don't do that, then you're always going to come back the next day and go, well, what's a better story than the one that I've got? Okay, and that's the death of writing, right? That will kill your writing immediately. It's a terrible question to say, what's a better idea than the one I've got? That's a terrible question. The better question and the more creative question is, how can I make the idea that I do have better, right? How can I make it even better? How can I make it work? Okay, because you and I both know if we took our ideas, if I took this idea and I said, look, I've got this kind of an idea about 2 sisters in the Yakuza going to war against each other. If I took that to, one of the top authors out there, someone, like George R.R. Martin, someone like that, they would go, oh, that's a pretty cool idea. Have you thought about doing this, right? Or this? They wouldn't say, well, here's a better idea. Forget the Yakuza. Go, right? They wouldn't say that. They would say, okay, have you thought about doing this, this, and this? And then the eyes would be opened and we go, wow, what a great idea. So that's basically what, that's what you've got to be like. Right, Mizuki almost started that. We continue through the... Okay, they also have bow towards Mizuki. Only half were eating. The losers do not... okay, we can just have Mizuki say that, I think. Okay, so... You eat if you win or whatever, right? You only eat if you win. Let's use that line. Okay, so is there a section of the dining area for the winners, front and center of the thing, separate from the losers? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking the winners sort of, are sitting at the tables eating, and the losers are sort of standing around the walls and just lustfully looking at the food, that they don't have. Keep in mind, some of these guys, maybe they haven't eaten in like 2 days because they've lost all of their matches, right? So actually what we can do is we can have... Oh, actually, they'll stood up and bow towards Mizuki. Can't be good for their digestion, I said. And let's say, and why do... Yeah, what I was going to do is maybe we have, the guy that Mizuki has just dispatched at the beginning of this, he sort of walks in and he sort of goes and stands with the losers, right? He doesn't go and eat something. He goes and stands with the losers, or Mizuki orders him to go and stand with the losers, she explains, here, you only eat if you win. Ooh, that's a good one too. Someone should pass out that's standing and they just leave him there until the meal's over. I like that. That's good. That's good. Kitty Wistful bonus points today. I like that. At our entrance, they all stood up and bowed towards Mizuki. Maybe one... Okay, so maybe one of the guys... he bows, but he can't get up. He's bowed to the ground. His face is on the ground. The rest of them stand up. And, yeah, I like that. Let's put that. They all stood up and bowed towards Mizuki. There are... okay, not about. Okay, so here again, we can get rid of that to be verb. Okay, so I think 50 is actually probably too many. If this is like a super awesome school, you know, that only takes the cream of the crop, there are probably, let's say 9. Right? 9 guys in there. Yeah, gold star for the day for sure. Let's just, okay, I want to make it like a low number, so let's just say there are, yeah, let's say there are 9 students. 9 students. 9 students. We're in there, whatever. 9 students were in there, but only half of them were eating. The other... I know you can't have half of 9. Just give me a second here. Right? The other half were standing around the... were standing around the room, lusting after the meal. Okay, fine. You only eat if you win. So maybe the guy who Mizuki had dispatched on the mats came and stood with the losers. With the losers. Okay. Whatever. That's kind of the thing. You eat what you kill. Maybe, okay, that's maybe a step too far. Again, it depends on where this is. If this is in a dojo in the countryside, then obviously they can have fields and maybe a forest where they go and train and they go and hunt for what they need to eat. Could be that. I'm not against that. Showed me into the students' dining room. Describe the dining room. So we've kind of let's just put that along. Okay, there we go. So 9. Let's say 9 students sat around a long, low table. Maybe it's a circular, a low table, whatever. A long, low table. Whilst so 9 students sat around a long, low table, whilst 9 students. I'd like it better saying only half of them were eaten. We get the idea more immediately. Whilst 9 students stood around the walls. Stood around the walls, watching hungrily. Okay, probably we're going to delete that verb, that adverb, but whatever. Let's see. Right, 9 students sat around a long, low table, eating quickly. Right, eating quickly. Okay. I'm going to say eating their fill, let's say. Whilst 9 students stood around the walls, looking on hungrily. Okay, something like that. So we don't need this. Okay, at our entrance, they all stood up and bowed towards Mizuki. Okay, so we can maybe put this here. Or maybe Mizuki just, tells one of the guys who's standing up, go and clean up the mess on the mats, right? Something like that. Yeah, I think maybe that's better. Okay, right. That can't be good for their digestion. I said. Yeah, ravenous. That's a good word. So 1 second. Mizuki snapped her fingers at one of the losers and told them to clean up the student she'd dispatched on the mats. Okay, so it could be that or it could be this. Whatever. That's basically what I want to put there. And then we can have this line later. Okay. Right, so wolfish, I love the word, but I never find a good time to use it. Yeah. Yeah, no, there's a story that I read about a pack of wolves, and they're all running, they're all fighting over the carcass of the animal that they've killed, and then obviously all the wolves sort of, tire each other out. The weaker wolves fall away, and then finally the strongest wolf, he drags off, with all his bruises and all his, all of his injuries. He at least gets to eat, while the other wolves have their injuries but go hungry. And maybe there's like a mural on the wall of the dojo where Mizuki, she points that out. That's quite good, actually. I'm gonna put that in. You know what? I'm gonna put that in. And bow towards me. It can't be good for their digestion, I said. Let's just put it here. So Mizuki pointed to a large mural on the wall, or on the ceiling, or something like that, right on the wall. I might have to get the book where I read that story. I know exactly where it is. Pointed to a large mural on the wall. It depicted a pack of wolves. Right. Bloodied. And yeah, ceiling. Yeah, I think the ceiling. Large mural on the wall. It depicted a pack of wolves, bloodied and battered. Bloodied and battered from an intense battle. A lone wolf dragging away. Maybe here we can have the rabbit as well, dragging away a rabbit. Planned dojo walls with a gruesome scene above you in the dining hall. Yeah, sounds wicked. But that's the point, right? It's that this mural is on the dining room to remind the students that, only the victors, only winners will survive, right? Only winners get to eat, right? It's a very, very harsh school, right? So and then it's being played out. So they have this tapestry on the wall, this mural of these wolves, and the story about these wolves who they all go and fight. They all go and chase down their quarry, a rabbit or a deer or something like that. And then they all start to look at each other and they go, hold on, there's not enough deer here for all of us. So then the wolves start fighting at each other, and they all sort of fall away one by one as they all get to, as everyone sort of gets battered from the fight, until only one wolf remains, and he takes the quarry for himself, while the others, having put all that effort in, they all go hungry, and they sort of lick their wounds. That's their meal. That's quite good, actually. Lick their wounds. The winners get to eat while the losers lick their wounds. Right, something like that. Whatever. But yeah, basically that's the whole thing. And Sharp is just realizing, bloody hell, this sister is, ruthless, merciless. What kind of upbringing? Yeah, that's what I said. No. I'm agreeing with you. I think there should be a rabbit on that mural, and then also the rabbit. And then also she says, so what are we eating? Of course, rabbit. That's what it's all about. So we can just remind the reader. We're just reminding the reader constantly of that story of the tanuki and the rabbit and the farmer. Okay, so maybe so either Mizuki explains this to him. Mizuki tells the story of the wolves. Around here, you only eat, the moral being. Okay, so this is basically how this scene is going to go. So we can start to envisage this, as a movie. We see what happens. We started with Sharp walks into this dojo, right? He sees Mizuki Matsumoto with one hand behind her back, battling another student, right? The other student gets distracted by Sharp, and Mizuki cuts him down, right? Mercilessly, she just knocks him unconscious, winning their fight. Then she leads him through this dojo, shows him all the trophies, explains to him that this is a top class dojo. They only take the cream of the crop, and their training regimen is absolutely brutal. They have only an 8% success rate, but those that do make it, are just deadly warriors. And then she leads him into the dining hall, and he sees more of these fighters. He sees them, how they, what kind of rigorous training regimen they're going through. So again, it's the show don't tell rule. Mizuki said they go through a rigorous daily training regimen, but she's not then going to explain it. She's not going to tell us what that training regimen is. She's just going to show us, parts of it, i.e., you only eat here if you win. If you lose, then your punishment is you go hungry. So we get the idea. We're just slowly building up this scene. So I think it basically does have to be a dojo, right? It can't be really it can't be part of a skyscraper where this is their version of a gym. I think that's basically what I'm saying here. So we continued through the here you only right. So we continued into a private dining room. A low table with two cushions. Mizuki kneeled, right? I think they kneel down. Kneel down on one side. I took the opposite. I remembered my meal with Kyori. And again, that's another difference between the sisters. So Kyori Matsumoto, she was feeding Mr. Our guy Sharp. She was feeding him all the delicacies. She was feeding him things like fugu, which ran upwards of $250 a plate. She was feeding him those ruby Roman grapes, which each grape can sell for $110. She was feeding him all of this food in this very upper class restaurant. And then he meets the sister, the scrappy sister. And, they only eat if they win. And what do they eat even then? It's just, things that have been hunted. It's raw stuff. It's rabbit. It's game. They are very ruddy sort of people. So, again, it's the opposites colliding here. And that's what we want. We want to make these sisters, although they're twins and they look the same, they've had the same upbringing, their life paths have totally diverged from each other, and now they're going to come back against each other for war. So that's what we're building up here. So we can fit it into a private dining room, a low table with two cushions, whatever. Mizuki kneeled down on one side. I took the opposite. It was a far. Okay, I remember my wheel with Curie. Hard to believe. You know, hard to believe. You know, he's thinking to himself, gosh, I remember how much I hated my meal with Curie, but compared to this, that was luxury. Hard to believe I felt an affinity. Yeah, so it's something like that. Whatever. Okay. So now she's led them into this. This is maybe a bit too much on the nose here. You know, what's on the menu? I don't think he's gonna say that. Maybe the waiter sort of comes in and he's like, yeah, okay, so yeah, Mizuki told the waiter to bring our meal. Maybe she doesn't even have to do that. Maybe the waiter's just going to immediately come in and just serve her, and that's when they get the rabbit. Okay. Okay, but basically that's okay. So we actually have a full page here. Oh, that's good. Okay, it needs to be put together a bit more, but we have enough words for this page. Right. Okay. We need to figure out now where we're going to put this dialogue. So, do we have this this portrait of the founder of this dojo? Do we have this in the dining room? Do we? I think it's probably got to be more in the dojo proper, right? In the dining room, in the private dining room. I mean, maybe it could be in the private dining room, especially if she's going to have sort of, you know, private pictures of her, you know, and her oyabun, as they call it, her mentor. So it could be all here. Yeah. Okay, so let's read it through and see if we have the general idea. We have enough words. I mean, we've done the job for today, which is another page. But let's read it through. Gosh, I need to change this from screenplay into prose. Maybe I'll do that as the last thing for today. So okay, so Sharp, our guy Oliver Sharp, our protagonist, he is called. He's found a way to get to Mizuki Matsumoto, the 7th captain of the Yakuza, who he is supposed to help take down. Okay, so he's summoned there to this dojo. And it's lunchtime, around lunchtime, and he walks in and he sees 2 people fighting with training katanas. They're going at it full pelt. Their wooden swords clash loudly and often. The 2 fighters flip and hurl themselves through the air and all over the mats. Sharp notices one of the fighters appears to be holding one hand behind their back, as if to give a handicap to their opponent. Not that it seems to be helping. The single-handed fighter is Mizuki Matsumoto. When Sharp approaches the mat, the sparring partner turns his head to see who it is, and that's when Mizuki strikes him down mercilessly. The poor bastard slaps the mat, unconscious. "Fool," said the victor, sliding her sword into her hip sheath. "Never take your eyes off your opponent." I think the Bruce Lee line there is, never take your eyes off your opponent even when you bow. Something like that. And then Sharp's going to make his, you know, witty observation, whatever. Okay, Mizuki's eyes fixed on me. She stepped over her fallen opponent and came to greet me. I'd seen twins before, but none so identical as these. Mizuki Matsumoto was a carbon copy of her sister Kyori. The same porcelain white skin, the same long black lashes. Only Kyori's lips had been red like crushed cherries, while Mizuki's were black like oil. Mizuki kept her left hand folded behind her back, while she extended her right hand towards me. "Sharp-san," she said. "An honor to meet you." Kyori Matsumoto has spoken to me in Japanese. Apparently this sister didn't think I was as well endowed in the tongue department. I took her hand and shook it. "Miss Matsumoto." "Captain Matsumoto," she said, immediately tightening her grip on my hand until my little finger crunched under the pressure, and I winced at the pain. "Apologies," she said quickly. "Swordsman's grip." I took back my hand. I couldn't believe how strong she was. More importantly, I couldn't believe I'd let this sister get the better of me too. Mizuki Matsumoto beckoned me to follow her across the dojo. Her bare feet sucked at the mats as we walked across them. Her toenails were painted black like her lips. Sabrina had always painted her nails black too. And look how that had ended. Could be a little bit stronger here. I looked at the various training swords, katanas, and display cases which lined the walls of the dojo. Trophies stood everywhere. The Takahashi School is renowned for its excellence, said Mizuki. Students are required to undergo a rigorous daily training regimen. We have a 92% dropout rates. Bah, but those that survive become champions. Do you practice the martial arts, Mr. Sharp? I fought my ex-wife for 10 years, I said. Family provides life's hardest opponents. And then she goes into this whole thing about the sister. Okay, we have the hand thing. That's good. Yeah, yeah. I hear what you're saying with the portraits. Maybe they have a of all the previous masters of the dojo. That's very Harry Potter-esque, right? So I think, well, keep in mind the captain, he's the one who founded the school. So his picture is going to be prominent among there. So we have this Kenji Takahashi, the founder of this school. He has a portrait. Maybe he has a portrait in every room. He has one in the dining room. He has one in the dojo. He has one in the private dining room. He has one in all of the, sections of the dojo. And, as if to say, he's constantly looking down. If he has recently died, probably they also have some sort of a shrine as well, to, lighting candles and things like that to their fallen master. And Mizuki Matsumoto, she is, in a period of mourning. They're all in a period of mourning for their fallen master. She is the next captain of the Yakuza. She's his heir. She's become his heir. And they are the only reason why she hasn't gone to war immediately against her sister, now having the keys to the kingdom and the ability to do so, is because she's in this period of mourning. She's waiting out of respect for her master's, the mourning period to be over for her master. And then, once that's over, which is in, say, tomorrow at, midnight, the mourning period will be over. Let's write that down. That might be quite useful. That could be part of this. So, the mourning period for our revered master will end tomorrow night. Then we shall, go to war. Okay, it's something like that, but maybe one of the wolves wears that crest as a collar or necklace. If he has a sentimental item like a necklace with a crest, maybe one of the wolves wears that crest. How do you mean one of the wolves? You mean the wolves on the mural that we put in? Or she wears it. Yeah, I think it's probably something like that. I think probably all of these Yakuza captains, they have some kind of signifier, right? Whether it's like a pin or a necklace, something like that. Yeah, I think probably the wolves. This thing about the wolves, probably that's their the mascot for their dojo. It's like a specific kind of a wolf that's indigenous to some region of Japan and has a lot of history towards it. Probably a parable about it. That's research that I'll do later today probably, and then tomorrow we can stick that in. But yeah, so this line here, we need to. This is probably pretty good, and we can use this when we write tomorrow's page. The mourning period for our revered master will end tomorrow night. Tomorrow at, let's say, I don't want to make it midnight because that's a bit. Oh, maybe it should be midnight. At midnight tomorrow. Tomorrow at midnight. Okay, whatever. Kyori has, right, and then she's sort of telling, so she could, I suppose she could say to Mr. Sharp, she could say, my sister, has until then to, admit what she's done, and step down as captain. Otherwise, you know, we're going to war, something like that. I'm not really quite sure yet, because there's that whole thing about the captains won't allow them to go to war. So so then they all have to go and do this thing, right? Our superiors will not stand for war between the captains. However, once per year, we're granted the ability to air our disputes in mortal combat. We call this event, okay, the pit fights. We need to figure out a better name, don't we? Each accuser captain will put forward fighters, and to the victors shall go the judgments. The alpha wolf in the moor having the crest signifying her eating the rabbit. Yeah, exactly. We'll build that in. I think we will build that in all tomorrow. So yeah, I like the fact that this family, this clan, the Takahashi clan, they are going to have their family emblem, their crest, as the wolf, right? That sort of symbolizes them. So that's pretty good, I think. Right, I remembered my meal with Curie and how much I hated it. And how uncomfortable I'd been. Hard to believe I felt even more uncomfortable now. You know, it's something like that. Okay, we're just building up that tension. Yeah, by all means, go ahead, send in your draft of whatever you're writing, and you know, this is a collaboration, everyone helping each other. I mean, just send in, you know, if there's a specific part that you want help with, maybe a specific chapter, a scene, or a plot point, and then we will we'll all try and help each other. First time chatter from Slim Ice. Slim Ice. Am I saying that right? Slimacy. Hello, how are you doing? Are you a writer? Are you coming in? Slim Icy, yeah. Great to have you here for a start. Thank you for joining in the chat. If you're a writer, then we are all writers here, and we're all trying to help each other. If you're new, you know, I'm pantsing the way through this novel, but it's going. I think we're starting to get somewhere now. Starting to get pretty interesting. We have this whole Yakuza war going on. Two sisters, two captains of the Yakuza are about to go to war. So let us know what you're writing. Do check out the videos. Yeah, Pants Squad, exactly. So hopefully, yeah, Kitty, send in. Yeah, by all means, send in. You can whisper it to me, or we can put it up on the big screen, maybe tomorrow, or whenever you're back. You know. So that sounds like a plan. And Slim Icy, you know, if you're a writer, send in your own stuff. You know, we want to help as many people as we can. We're all helping each other. So whether it's plots, whether it's a chapter that needs to be edited or whatever, send it in and let's get to work. Okay, so I think we did a pretty good job today. 2 hours. Gosh, these streams are getting longer and longer, aren't they? Not that this is a very long stream, but they are getting longer. Okay, so we've got this page. We've written the page for today. 1 page a day. Good job. We're starting to build up a picture of where this scene is happening. It's in this dojo, and we're starting to really paint a picture of what's going on. Maybe and then the tournament, the big tournament between the Yakuza captains. Yeah. Long stream means the writing is good, or it means that the author is just, you know, trying to win time until he can figure out what to write next. So either one, but yeah, I think it is going pretty well. And again, massive thanks to everyone who is participating. Dining room or okay. That does that say it all? Does that tell you everything that you need to know? I think the stream is going too long. I'm starting to lose my ability to write. So let's not make it a dining room. Let's make it a dining room. I think that's more in keeping with what we want. So yeah, thank you for that. Not desperate. Okay, so 9 students, right? I'll give a whisper of something I've been working on then. Yeah, please do. And if you want, also, I'll have a look at it. And then if you want, jump in again on the stream, the next stream, and we can, go through it together on here. Or I can, if you don't want that, I can also just send you my notes via whisper, or at least my thoughts on it. I can't promise they're going to be any good, but I'll give you my own thoughts. I've got a pretty good idea of what editors tend to tell me, so I can pass along that information. What else was I going to say? We're all trying to help each other. So guys, not desperate, slim, icy, let's... Kitty, God, it's got to be like 5 o'clock almost your time? Gosh, it's actually just gone over 10 today, so I've really got to get to work at some point. Cool. All right, guys. Let's, 5:03. Wow. Kitty Wistful for the badge of honor. She's essentially doing her, it sounds like you've got one of these rigorous training regimens going like we have in this dojo at the moment. Staying up late, you don't get to sleep if you don't win. You don't get to sleep if you don't do your page of writing. Thanks again. All right, good day today. What were we on? Day 19. Tomorrow is day 20. And really we should be doing page 20. But all this backstory work has paid off, and I think so we're a couple of pages behind, but I think we're doing good. So Marcy, thank you for following. I don't write, I don't sleep, just filling my quota. Yeah. All right, thanks guys for following. Please do follow along, tell your friends who are writers. Let's try and build this community even more, and we want to all become better storytellers. So let's see how we can do it. By the way, everyone who helps this novel is going to get a mention in the novel, for sure. So don't worry, I'm making sure to take down names of who's helping and who's contributing. So, okay, hope you guys have enjoyed the stream. Again, we're on, if you want to catch the earlier videos, because I can't re-upload them until this stream has 50 followers. Until the stream has 50 followers, I can't re-upload some of the older videos. I've turned them into highlights, some of them, but if you want to see, sort of how we came up with this whole idea from chapter 1, then please do check out the YouTube channel right before your eyes, where I've uploaded. I'm starting to upload all of the old videos, so you can see us. You can see us all working on this from the beginning, and see how this story, which I think is turning out to be pretty good, pretty interesting at the very least, how that all started and how it's come together. Okay, so really good job today. Thank you again to everyone. I think, gold star to Kitty today. We always seem to come up with some good ideas between us, and I look forward to collaborating with everyone else in the chat. In fact, let me just send a big message here. Right. Maybe I need to get one of those, emojis, or those little gold star stickers. Maybe I can do that once this channel grows a bit. I can get that. Let's see here. Okay, but at the moment, that's the best I can do. Gold star for Kitty Wistful. Okay, so at least it's there in black and white. That's the best I can do for now. Okay, good job, guys. I don't know another stream that we can go and raid. No, that's the point. We need to turn this into a writer's room. That's the point, right? So maybe we can turn this stream. We can break this stream up into a few things. I'm very, very, very open to ideas on how to make this stream a little bit more entertaining for everyone. I'm thinking maybe I'll do an hour of writing on my own work, and then we'll take a second hour and we'll collaborate on everybody else's work. We can pick one person a day and just go through their work. And then maybe we can also do some writing challenges, either as warm-ups or as cool-downs. I like to use those random object generators. Pick 5, it gives you 5 objects, and then we have to come up with a plot, as quick as possible, and we can turn this into a bit of a writer's room. So that's what I'm thinking, but open to ideas. So please do let me know either on Whisper or in the chat. Okay, I've really got to go. The stream has already gone on a bit too long. It's 10 o'clock in London, and there's work to be done. So guys, go to bed if you are staying up. It's been great to have you, and I will be here tomorrow, roughly the same time, when I will continue to write before